Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
Good evening, Malcontents. My name is David. I am the Malcontent, and welcome to another episode of Malcontentment Happy Hour. Today is Monday, May 10th, 2021. Let me pull in my amazing co-host here, Jennifer Smith. I had a hard time introducing you. Jennifer, how are you doing this Monday evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you? My allergies are kind of crappy today, but I'm hoping it's a little wet outside now, so that might kind of tamper the tree pollen.
The cottonwood is getting ready to fly. That I know, yeah. And I know when the cottonwood will start going. I don't have terrible allergies, but I'm going to feel the cottonwood when that starts flying, and we have a lot of cottonwood where I live.
Oh, I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
Jennifer, our readers got real salty over the weekend. They weren't feeling very Mother's Day-ish.
I know. I was a little annoyed towards the end of it. And, then the mods, put the hammer down. And I was like, good, because it was a little out of hand. And I was like, shouldn't you guys have better things to do? But
things definitely were getting a little out of hand in the comment section on our Facebook page. I had essentially, because I like to joke, I'm the token man on this team. Everybody else is women. And I was like, hey, it's Mother's Day. We're going to have a quiet day, take the days off. And I wrote what I thought was a puff piece, candidly, about Toyota. Jennifer, people got really upset over it.
Yeah, they were super angry. It's like, man, this is a lot of hostility that if you channeled it into something meaningful, might be able to do something.
So if you haven't been up on the website, if you haven't read the story, you can go to the website. We'll go ahead and pop that URL there for you, malcontentnews.com. In January after the insurrection, hundreds of companies said that they were no longer, and their PACs were going to no longer support any Republican candidate that voted not to certify the election of January 6th. In 2020, 147 congresspersons received donations from more than 1,100 companies. There were 147 congresspersons that voted against certification of the election. In 2021, that number dropped to 47 congresspersons from less than 70 companies. But Jennifer, there was one company that stood out, which is Toyota. Because Toyota said, we're not going to do it. And then Toyota, when they got caught providing a donation to Rep. Toomey, was like, well, we've evaluated things and we're going to donate to people that we think are aligning to the values, but necessarily weren't awful people. But then we found out after the April 15th filing, they've donated to 40 different congresspersons for a total of $62,000, including people like Andy Biggs of Arizona, which a lot of, I don't want to say rumors, but there was a lot of kind of chatter that the Department of Justice was talking to Andy Biggs and that he is one of, say, 5 to 10 Congress critters that the Department of Justice is looking at a little harder after January 6th.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of interesting how this all played out. And I think it really is telling how many people got upset about this, especially those who had profiles that made them appear to be allies or, you know, something along those lines. And some of the comments were very telling about people's positions politically and ideologically.
One of my favorites was, "You just hate Toyota." I'm like, I don't understand. I'm just reporting facts. We will continue to monitor. We also know, if you go to that story, JetBlue, Cigna, Microsoft, Intel are a list of companies that went, yeah, I know, we said we weren't, but we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jennifer, there was another kind of, it's not getting the coverage it deserves. I heard Rachel Maddow spent a lot of time on it tonight, didn't get to see it, getting ready for show prep. But I know you've got something on what I think is one of the biggest stories to happen in the last 3 or 4 days in the United States.
Yeah, so it's the shutdown and the hacking and the shutdown of a Colonial Pipeline. And then you're right, there hasn't been enough talk about this. Rachel Maddow did feature it on a good chunk of her show. But the pipeline serves 45% of the fuels for autos, trucks, and aircrafts on the East Coast. A Russian hacker ransom attack shut down the pipeline on Friday. And the Russian group DarkSide said they had no political motivations, just monetary in the ransomware attack. So this has been something that's, you know, kind of like put a wrench in a lot of people's plans. There's fuel shortages now for people, you know, rushing out to fill up after the attack. But yeah, it's really interesting the ways in which Russia in particular is seeking to cripple particular things within the United States.
I just realized the irony of wearing my Russian T-shirt today that says "Nice Jewish boy."
Kudos.
We only want money. We don't want to cause problems. That's what Vladimir Putin told us to tell you. Jennifer, another big story that happened over the weekend that, again, I don't think is getting the coverage that it deserves. King County Sheriff did raids at the Northwest African American Heritage Museum. And I don't think enough people are talking about this. There's been a long history on the Coleman School and broken promises and attempts to turn that building into a full-on museum. In 1994, the city reached an agreement with what was the African American Heritage Museum Association at that time. Literally days later, Mark Sidran decertified the agreement. In 1998, the Seattle School District entered into agreement to sell the museum to the AAHM. In 2006, the Urban League and Mayor Nichols signed an agreement to operate the building as apartments. There's been an ongoing occupation at that Coleman School for years. And on Saturday, King County Sheriff SWAT and other teams showed up at 5 in the morning, raided the area, removed tents, trailers, furniture, everything, put up a fence around the building. This city, Seattle, you're not as woke as you think you are. This city has been patronizing the Black community over creating this museum since 1985. And Mayor Durkin, this is not how you build community trust, doing a raid on respected Black elders at 5 in the morning. And then, Jennifer, I'm going to call it out on Mayor Durkin being a chicken shit and pushing it off on King County Sheriff.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, you know, it just goes back to thinking about people thought it was such a great thing when they voted in Jenny Durkin and they felt good about themselves and patted themselves on the back because she's part of the LGBTQIA community, but she's just more of the same thing that you were complaining about before you voted her in. Your vote for her was a self-congratulatory, I'm so woke, pat on the back. She's no different than, anyone else. She's, cowardly, doesn't want to have to see the consequences of her decision. And I think that's going to be very problematic for any Seattle mayoral campaign that supports what she's done over, the time she's been in office.
Can't vote in Seattle elections, don't live in Seattle, but guilty as charged. When Jenny Durkin won, I was like, oh, we have somebody who has some experience who totally wrong. And we're going to be talking more about Jenny Durkin tonight.
Yes, you are.
She's been a naughty, naughty girl, Jennifer. Are we ready to start the real show?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it. Malcontent News comes to you from Seattle, the lands of Coast Salish peoples. We are grateful to live and work as guests on these lands, the land which touches the shared waters of tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip nations. This land acknowledgement is but one small gesture in the ongoing process of working toward repairing and sustaining relations with Coast Salish lands, waters, people, and their other than human kin.
Jennifer, thank you so much for that. Once again.
I was trying not to laugh.
Once again. That's why I'm laughing. I'm like, I don't understand.
I was trying not to laugh because all I can hear is you crumpling up paper. And I'm like, what is going on over there? I'm trying to talk.
That's because the way the new audio that you have a full connection to me the whole time, but people on air couldn't hear me doing that. So there's a double trunk line on the audio. So that's a good call out that when I'm rustling paper, you can hear the rustling paper. All right, this is the part of the show. Oh, wait a minute. Show notes have to stay in the right hand or we'll have all sorts of view problems. This is the part of the show where I tell people, spam those hearts. Go ahead and spam those hearts, particularly if you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook. Mess with those algorithms. Lie to the world that there's actually some good content going on here. If you're not feeling very spammy, you can go ahead and give us a like. We'll accept likes. Let our mods and admins and researchers and writers and videographers and editors and Jen and David know how much you love us. Just please, not in a creepy way, okay? Just no creepiness. And with that, the other thing you could do, like, share, follow, subscribe, especially share. Get those shares out. And if you're on Twitch, when you go to spam those hearts, you can use our emotes. You could even use Yoda. Yoda forever in our hearts, forever over my shoulder on the show. And thank you so much for this, Courtney. He just looks so amazing right there. And it's really appreciated. And with that, we're going to go to our first story and the big story of the night. Our first story is a local story. It's right here in Bellevue, Jennifer, and it's a story about Franklin Graham. Let's give a little background first for this, and then I think people might understand why there is so much controversy that's going on here. Franklin Graham is the son of Billy Graham. Billy Graham died in 2018. He was probably, during his heyday, probably the second most recognized religious figure on the planet behind Pope John Paul. That's strictly my opinion. Unlike his father, Franklin Graham has a long list of controversies. Billy Graham generally stayed pretty much controversy-free as a charismatic Christian with conservative leanings. His son, Franklin, started stepping into things after 9/11. He made increasingly hostile remarks about the Muslim faith. That culminated with him being disinvited by the Pentagon in 2010 It reached a zenith where in 2012, he was actively accusing Barack Obama of being a Muslim. He then walked those comments back and then started those attacks up again in 2014. He was involved in a payroll controversy starting in 2019. He was getting paid as CEO of Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is part of the Billy Graham Evangelical Association, BGEA, where he was also drawing CEO salary. And he received a lot of criticism for drawing two salaries as CEO for essentially the same organizations, even though they are two. Samaritan's Purse lives within BGEA. And he said, all right, fine, I'm just going to do one salary. And then in 2015, he was like, smoke you, I'm doing two salaries. And also, by the way, I'm going to get paid a lot more now. In 2019, he said, anyone who opposed Donald Trump is doing so from the work of a, and I quote, demonic power. He has claimed that Trump is the victim of a coup and of the deep state, and he has perpetuated the big lie. Interesting, Jennifer, as you know, on the subject of the devil, I will give the devil a pass when the devil deserves a pass. He's not anti-vax, which actually is unusual for a Christian conservative. He has equated getting the COVID vaccination to being anointed by God. So I'm going to throw him this one nugget.
Oh, I will.
His most controversial statements have been made around the LGBTQIA plus community. And I'm going to roll this little montage. And then, Jennifer, you and I can unpack this.
You can adopt a child into a marriage, but you can also recruit children into your cause. And so I believe in protecting children, okay, from exploitation, all exploitations. Mm-hmm. So that's all that is about. I think I agreed with Putin. I think protecting his nation's children, I think, was probably a pretty smart thing to do.
Same-sex marriage is now legal in all 50 states. That ruling handed down by the Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision. One of the most outspoken opponents of gay marriage is Franklin Graham, and he joins us live now from North Carolina. Franklin, just a few moments ago on your Facebook page, you posted just a brilliant message, and you write this: with all due respect to the court, it did not define marriage and therefore is not entitled to redefine it. Franklin, I want to get your reaction to the ruling today.
Well, Todd, of course, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because our government is recognizing sin. This court is endorsing sin. And that's what homosexuality is. It's a sin against God, just like any other sin. But for the court to endorse sin, I'm saddened for our country. And so we'll have to go by with what the court says. But as far as for me, I will never recognize it in my heart because God gave marriage between a man and a woman, and that's what marriage is.
The last 2 weeks, we've seen the Democrats' convention, we see the Republicans' convention. Can you give us a compare and contrast? What have you seen from a faith perspective or a lack thereof?
The Democrats are really, if anything, they are opposed to faith. When I say there are millions of Democrats in this country that are wonderful people. I'm talking about, my father was a Democrat, okay, all of his life, never switched parties. But he saw the party that he grew up in changing and moving to the left, and that's what it's done. And so the Democratic Party today is a party of the left. It's a socialist party. They want socialism for this country.
They want socialism! How much you would have bet he can't define socialism?
It's very hard. He's such an eloquent wordsmith. At any rate, I just want to talk a little bit for a second about his, pro-vaccination stance, especially, in the context of anointing in God. Of course, he wants people to get vaccinated, especially people that donate to him so he can stay very, very wealthy. He doesn't want those people that are, prone to anti-vax ideology to die off, because then where would he get his money from?
My fellow malcontents, I want you to put your hand. I want you to put your hand up on mine. I want you to feel the power flowing from my hand to you. because I will give you a one-way ticket to socialist heaven. That's right, one-way ticket, first class, not coach. There's going to be a vegan meal on there filled with a bunch of soybeans for all the soy boys that are out there in the world. And there's going to be lots of marijuana and weed and illicit drugs. Yes, there is on that flight, I promise you. All you have to do is Venmo me $1,000, and I promise I will seal you into the heaven of socialist heaven. Amen. Can I get a hubba bubba?
Now you just kind of sound like a DARE officer with all the talk about free drugs.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Is Tylenol a gateway drug?
Yes. To what I don't know.
And Jennifer, those were kind of the lightweight comments that he said. Of course, praise for Vladimir Putin's record for the LGBTQ community should be a red flag for anybody. Anybody praising Vladimir Putin, period, should be a red flag for anybody.
Yeah, especially LGBTQ and rights in Russia are like abysmal. I actually have a friend who's doing their dissertation work on that right now. And in order to actually get interviews with people within that community, they have to be anonymous. They have to be like voice change, undercover, because it is so dangerous. So for him to align himself with those particular views is absolutely appalling.
Putin, it's okay. I'm a nice Jewish boy, says right on the shirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's debatable.
All right. We've given the background to Franklin Graham. So what's the controversy? What's going on? In April of 2021, he sent an invite to the Seattle Police Department for a police appreciation dinner. Free. Gratis, no charge, at the Hyatt in Bellevue. It was authorized by Lieutenant Diamond. Yes, Sergeant Diamond has been promoted to lieutenant. If you don't know who Lieutenant Diamond is, he is the creator, lead, and head trainer of the Seattle Bike Officers. It was sent using the employee wellness alias of the Seattle Police Department. So it was a fully sanctioned email. It was not sent like, hey, I'm just employee and I got this thing and it circulated around. It was sent like as an official invite to the rank and file of the police department. In a Seattle Times story, a spokesperson for the Seattle Police Department said when this story broke on the 17th, the event was leaked by an officer out to the public, and that spokesperson complained on they should have just kept it internal. I don't know why they came out to the public with this.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
I don't know. Maybe they came public to it because the history of the Seattle Police Department is nothing was going to happen. And that person, if they had come forward inside of the department, would have faced retribution or probably would have had to quit their job and be a police officer somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. SPD.
City Council President mayoral candidate Lorena Gonzalez released a statement on April 16th that said, in part, we have the complete statement on our website and a backlink to her complete statement. By promoting this anti-LGBTQ and far-right religious group's invitation, the Seattle Police Department is undermining Seattle's LGBT community, alienating our own LGBTQ officers, and further eroding public trust and confidence in a law enforcement to protect everyone regardless of their religion or identity. Shortly thereafter, Chief Diaz released a statement on the same day that said, in part, based on Graham's history and affiliations, the email has raised concerns that the SPD may not be committed to the equity of our community's LGBTQ members. I want to make clear the department fully supports the equity and just treatment of all people. The SPD did not sponsor this event and is not connected in any way to its hosts. Today, I send a department-wide email to rescind this invitation because its hosts do not share the inclusive values of SPD. Wait a minute. So you would think it would have ended there, but it didn't. The BGEA then repositioned their event as an event for all law enforcement officers. It was originally planned for 2 days, May 11th and May 12th. It appears it is now only on May 11th. So that's slated for tomorrow at the Bellevue Hyatt. On May 6th, the first call to protest the event came out. That was announced by Capitol Hill Pride. On May 8th, a loose affiliation of direct action activists, because they have no leaders. They consider themselves a venue. They're not ENDD, so I will refer to them as a loose affiliation of direct action activists, have also said they're going to protest. And on May 9th, two other groups have come forward saying they are going to counter-protest the protests. On May 9th, the Bellevue Police Department tweeted out, and I quote, "We've learned of a planned protest in downtown Park on Tuesday, May 11th at 7 p.m. Currently, we're unsure how large or if they plan to remain peaceful. There's a strong possibility the group may leave the park. We will update this info as we learn more." Jennifer, the reason I laugh at the part of they may leave the park, it's like they're going to have to leave the park at some time. So that's why I laughed at that.
You know what this is, David? It's Schrodinger's protest. Instead of Schrodinger's box, that's Schrodinger's protest. Yeah.
You just won the internet.
So,
That's it. The show's over.
what is interesting about this is like, it's not the counter protesters that's the problem. It's the fact that Franklin Graham and his really gross positions are coming here to this space that's supposedly so woke and so like equal rights friendly that it's going to cause a problem. And what's really interesting too is I just got an email today from PBS that they're actually doing a big special and then a discussion afterwards about the ways in which Billy Graham and Franklin Graham have actually influenced American politics and for how long. So that just goes to, you know, they did a big PBS special a while ago on Billy Graham and his long influence in politics. And they call it the civil religion because, you know, there's supposed to be, of course, a separation between church and state, but we don't see that. Religion, especially Christianity, has such a huge influence on our contemporary, or really throughout the 20th century, politics throughout the 20th century, that, you know, they're pretty much like inextricably intertwined.
Jennifer, we reached out to the Bellevue City Council for a statement because Lorena Gonzalez of the Seattle, president of the Seattle Council, mayoral candidate, made a statement on behalf of the Seattle City Council. Bellevue City Council did not return our response for that. We made multiple requests to the Hyatt, both by phone, left a voicemail. They did not respond to our requests. We spoke with Megan Black, who is the Bellevue Police Department PIO. She told us, and I quote, "preparing for all eventualities," unquote. We asked also if they would be providing additional security at the Hyatt beyond what they would normally do for an event or a person of Franklin Graham's stature. And we were told that Franklin Graham has his own security team and that they will be handling security at the Hyatt, and that Bellevue Police has not been asked to do anything extra there. Through our contacts, we were told, because the BGEA has said, we made this an event for all police officers. Through our contacts, we are told that nobody in the Bellevue Police Department received a direct invitation. There was an event on Eventbrite. That event is shown as sold out. The tickets were listed as free. There was nothing, Jennifer, that said there were X number of tickets available or anything like that. We're going to be monitoring the situation on the grounds. We're going to be at the Hyatt tomorrow. We are treating this as a news story, not as a stream, but if things get sideways, we'll start streaming.
Yeah. Oh boy, I have a feeling it's going to get sideways.
We'll see what happens.
Yes.
Again, we're aware of 4 groups with, across 3 levels of the spectrum that's going to be there, including very far left, very far right, and then group that's more center left or hard left. I don't know what you want to call it. Which causes for concern when you have two groups of
it's a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller
that are saying they're going to be there. We'll see what happens. The big question is, A lot of people are just burned out on protest. So that's the $1 million question. How many people are actually going to show up?
Yeah, exactly. I will say this, though. People on the far right tend to be real fervent and protective of their religion. So it would not surprise me to see a number of them come out and, try to protect Franklin Graham.
And Franklin Graham's messaging on the big lie.
Yes, exactly.
All right. We're going to do a little pause for the cause, and we'll go on to our next stories.
Hey, Seattleites, if you're voting in Seattle and you're eligible to vote in this election, have you gotten your democracy vouchers yet? And if you haven't, or if you have, do you know what to do with them? So that's what I want to talk a little bit about today, is just what the democracy vouchers are and how you can use them to support your candidates for city council and Seattle mayor. So Seattle Times came out with an article today talking about the candidates leading in the number of democracy vouchers thus far, 3 of which we've already interviewed: Andrew Grant Houston, Colleen Echohawk, and Lorena Gonzalez. But there's some additional information you should know about democracy vouchers if you got them, or how you can acquire them. And during this story, the mods are actually going to drop a link that tells you candidates who are accepting democracy vouchers. And within that link, too, is a place where you can navigate to should you still need to claim yours. So just so you know, the Democracy Voucher Program began in 2015 when Seattle voters passed a citizen-led initiative known as I-122, designed to reform the ways in which Seattle candidates' campaigns funds were funded. So one of these reforms allowed the Seattle Ethics and Election Commission to distribute democracy vouchers in the amount of $100. You get 4 at $25 apiece to eligible voters to give to candidates of their choosing, provided the candidate is part of the Democracy Voucher Program. The program is funded through a $3 million property tax, which costs property owners about $8 per year. And it goes over the course of about 10 years, so it's slated to end in 2025. Essentially, you sign off your vouchers to a candidate, and it's the same thing as making a donation, only the money's not coming technically out of your pocket unless you're a property owner, and then it's really $8 coming out of your pocket. So you're getting $92 for free to apply to a candidate's fund. So how it works is they are mailed by the SEEC in the early part of election year to eligible voters. So you may have already gotten yours. And voters must sign and return them to the candidate or the SEEC. So again, the mods are going to drop a link to eligible candidates. If you've received your vouchers and are not sure how to use them or who to give them to, This link tells you which campaigns accept them. Moreover, if you believe you are an eligible voter and have not received your democracy vouchers, there is more information in the link about how to claim them. I'm currently working on a story for our website later this week with more detailed information about the program, but this is an excellent way to support your preferred candidates in Seattle elections, so make sure you use them, and if you haven't received them, check out the information in the link provided to ensure that you claim your vouchers and give them to the candidates of your choosing.
Jennifer, I believe I had read something that Andrew Grant Houston has capped out the number of democracy vouchers he can receive.
Yes.
And I know Colleen Echohawk, the last I looked, was getting really close.
Yeah. So again, the top three are three people that we've already interviewed, and that's Andrew Grant Houston, Colleen Echohawk, and Lorena Gonzalez have, really are in the lead with the democracy vouchers. So if you have a candidate in Seattle City Council or a mayoral candidate within the list that is accepting democracy vouchers, make sure you use them and support your candidates. It's a good way to make a donation without technically having to make a donation.
Do we have any information on how many other cities or counties across the United States are doing something like this, or is this a unique thing to Seattle?
This is unique to Seattle. We are the only program like this in the nation.
Really fascinating to me. Jennifer, I really appreciate the report, because not living in Seattle, this is something, I know what they are and I know how they work, but I don't know how they work. So I've learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to reading your story.
Yeah, and I've used all mine already, so use your vouchers.
It's a way of seizing the means of production.
Seize the means of production, people. I'm getting that tattooed somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere.
Jennifer, a quick pause for the cause. We're going to jump into our next story.
Black Coffee is a hub for communities and a hub for meeting people, making friends, and understanding.
What Black Coffee is to me is a place to actually call home, a place where Black youth will feel welcomed, where Black families will come and feel like they're at home.
What we're trying to build is more than just coffee. Community is something that we do naturally. We know who's in the community, we know what the deficits are, and we're trying to fix that. We want to bring people together.
My hope is that the phrase grounded in excellence shows up everywhere and that it becomes a movement.
I'm looking forward to hanging out at Black Coffee with my friends and feeling safe.
Black coffee to me means opportunity for people like me and my other friends and family to come here and do homework safely and hang out and stuff like that.
That is happening. It is happening.
Black Coffee Northwest is located in Shoreline, Washington. You get off at exit 176, which is the 175th exit. You head a little south on Highway 90, and you come a little past 170th. They're on the west side over there. Their lobby is now open. They have amazing coffee. They've got amazing merch. I don't have my cup. This is the second show in a row. I have not come in here and go, here's my cup. I love my cup. And they have, if you're reading the comments, I see we have Chip. Chip, welcome to the show. Welcome to becoming a new fan of us. Chip has to get indoctrinated, Jennifer, into potato scones. Go to Black Coffee Northwest, get a potato scone. It is like the fluffiest, most amazing scone you ever had. Had a baby with a cheese and onion baked potato. They are heavenly, and I love the Mexican mocha.
Yes.
Although maybe not that combination together.
I love that you've added that now into the mix, the Mexican mocha. So now we have the potato scone, the Mexican mocha, the cup. It's like a trio. It's a hat trick, really. The Black Coffee hat trick.
Yes. A cup of Mexican mocha and a potato scone, but I would advise maybe eating the potato scone like an hour after the Mexican mocha, because that's not going to work.
Yeah, but maybe. You never know. Never know. Oh.
Okay, we're going to roll the next story.
Okay.
Jennifer, this story's got legs.
Yes. Yes, it
I
does.
think the only way that this story goes away is if Jenny Durkin can somehow make this drag out till November when she packs her bags and leaves City Hall. I think that's the only way this goes away. Seattle Times ran a story that City Hall has been mishandling public information requests for communications between Mayor Durkin and others when people have been requesting to receive texts. It turns out that all the texts from Mayor Durkin's phone from August 2019 to June 2020, poof, they've disappeared.
Hallelujah!
Technology
Holy
glitch.
shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Damn.
So I just want to recap some events that Mayor Durkin's texts have disappeared on. The start of CHOP, the decision to tear gas protesters in CHOP, the evacuation of the East Precinct, working with Raz Simone to provide security in CHOP and Chaz, working with Andre Taylor, street czar, the shooting, death, and events immediately after of Lorenzo Anderson in particular. Excuse me for that. And possibly the disastrous community meeting that happened on June 27th, which just felt like a total setup of a meeting for anybody who was there or observed it afterwards. All those texts. Bye-bye. But guess what?
Wow.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Jennifer, it got worse over the weekend. Let me roll this clip.
10 months of text messages from the Seattle mayor are missing, and the mayor's office might be trying to hide the issue. That's according to the Seattle Times.
Yeah, the paper is reporting the missing text messages have come to light during an investigation triggered by a whistleblower. It accuses the mayor's office of mishandling a series of public records requests. The missing texts reportedly stretch from August of 2019 to June of 2020, including a time where Seattle police used tear gas on protesters during the Capitol Hill organized protest. Now, in a statement to the Times, the mayor's office attributes the lost text to an unknown technology issue. But we're also learning from the Times that the mayor is not the only one with missing text messages. Fire Chief Harold Scoggins and former Police Chief Carmen Best's messages were also not retained and are not available for public disclosure. This is according to the city's lawyers. They say Chief Scoggins was locked out of his phone due to password issues, and they're still looking into why Carmen Best's text messages went missing.
Hey, Jennifer, you want to see my text messages?
Sure.
Give me 1 minute. Jennifer, I'm really sorry my phone's broken. I can't show you those text messages.
Oh, wow. That's inconvenient.
I don't know how it happened.
Yeah. This is just like, wow, what an amazing coincidence, right? Like,
it's just an amazing coincidence how Chief Scoggins, who was supposed to be working specifically with Raz Simone and trying to establish security in Chaz and Chop in the absence of Seattle police, he lost his password on his phone.
Oh, wow. God, I hate that.
Jeez. And Carmen Best, who is no longer police chief and really has no skin in this game anymore, we can't get into her text either.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
So, Jennifer, some political figures had some things to say about this today.
Yeah, so, of course, they're investigating it. And Jocelyn Farrell and Lorena Gonzalez, who are both running for Seattle mayor, both kind of weighed in the context of like, hey, we need to hold these public officials accountable and figure out what's going on here because there needs to be transparency. And we need to find out how these texts went missing. So that was kind of the gist of both statements. Both are very supportive of the investigation and trying to get some accountability and action out of this.
How does it feel to lose 10 months of text? We've asked to see them multiple times, but you still won't show them to us. I saw the comment about Blue Monday. I'm an
really don't
80s
need-
child.
Thank you.
Oh, it was so perfect. So, Jennifer, as you pointed out, they claimed there was a technology issue.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
In the case of Fire Chief Scoggins, they're saying, as we mentioned, his password. But here's the problem with these explanations, Jennifer. They say all this started in August of 2019. So we have to believe that from August of 2019 to June of 2020, not a single human being filed a public information request to see the texts of Jenny Durkin or former Police Chief Carmen Best or Fire Chief Scoggins.
Yeah,
that's what we have to believe.
Nothing to see here, folks. Like, nothing to see here. Hold on while I put out this fire. Like, I mean, it's insane. Insane.
And they've been listening to the protester chants. Don't see shit, don't know shit.
Yeah. Apparently.
I'm in a snarky mood tonight, if you can't tell.
Ooh, sorry. It's a Monday.
Even if someone asked and they were trying to cover it up, then that's a violation of the public information requests. Like, potentially federal level crimes, potential, that's the key word, potential federal level crimes going on here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is just like, I don't even know how they expect anybody to really believe, unless you're just like an ardent, blind Durkin supporter. I mean, blind, like, you know, not wanting to see the red flags here, that this is somehow just a coincidental technology glitch that affected only these people's specific phones during these specific times when there were very key events going on in Seattle. That's just no. I call bullshit.
I get, as somebody coming from the tech industry, that you can have backups, and because people don't check backups until they need the backup, and I've experienced a corrupted backup in my life where I'm like, oh my God, now what do I do? But in order to believe that, again, we have to go back to that means that nobody from August 2019 to June of 2020 asked to ever see their texts, because if they had, then they would have already known there was a problem. And we have to believe that Chief Scoggins, the fire chief of Seattle, has had a locked cell phone since August of 2019, and he didn't go to somebody and go, hi, I can't get into my cell phone because I screwed up the password. What do I do?
Yeah, sure. Totally about it. Totally.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
All right, Jennifer, we'll keep monitoring that amazing story, and we're going to do a little pause for the cause.
All right.
Hi, Malcontents. I'm David, the Malcontent, and I'd like to talk to you for a moment about supporting independent media. When you support us, you help us bring the before, during, and after. You help us defend the First Amendment. You help us amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices, and you help us hold leaderships at a local, state, and federal level accountable. None of this would be possible without support by viewers just like you. When you become a patron for as little as $5 a month, you help buy technology, safety equipment, and help cover travel expenses so that we can continue to bring you news that you trust. If you can't become a patron, you can do a one-time donation on Venmo, and your dollars will go to the exact same causes. With your continued support, we can continue to amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices while showing the truth on what is happening in the world around us. Once again, thank you.
I am just all about the mayoral race and Seattle elections this evening. So we have another candidate who just came out running for Seattle mayor. That puts the candidate list up to right around 12. But it is a notable figure in Seattle by the name of Casey Sixkiller. So last week, Sixkiller announced his candidacy for Seattle mayor. And you may know Sixkiller because he's currently Durkin's deputy mayor and has served as her point person for addressing the unhomed crisis. So as of his entry into the race, the cornerstone of his campaign centers on the unhomed crisis and hopes Seattle voters will approve a $1 billion bond measure to fund 3,000 additional housing units during his first term. Interesting use of language here because this was partial quote pulled from the Seattle Times interview he did. First term implies that he may presume concurrent terms, but that's just me being a historian and reading language. But to pay for this, Sixkiller proposes increasing property taxes for a duration of 30 years. And although Sixkiller was born and raised in Seattle, he is actually an enrolled member of the Cherokee Nation, and he has done a lot of work with the Cherokee Nation, including aiding them in getting their first Washington, D.C. office. He described himself in a Seattle Times article as a, quote, outsider candidate who will deliver much-needed fresh ideas. Sixkiller is actually the son of famed UW quarterback Sonny Sixkiller, and like Colleen Echohawk, if he were elected, would be the first Indigenous mayor of Seattle since the office's inception back in the 1860s. As of Friday, I have reached out to Sixkiller's campaign for an interview, and we will keep you posted on his response.
Yeah, right now, I believe we're batting 100% on everybody that we have asked to come on the show that is running for mayor. I'm very flattered that we've grown to this kind of sphere of influence as we've matured and we've evolved. And I know, Jennifer, you've done a tremendous job of bringing this to us. You know, my overall view as the mayor race is rolling out, which is I don't know who would want to be mayor for the city in general, but my hat's off, literally.
Absolutely.
People, Chip doesn't know what I'm talking about. Someone in the comments, let Chip in on the joke. But my hat is literally off to all of the candidates that are there. And we have a long list at the end of the show that we're going to be updating of everybody that we have interviewed already scheduled. We have a really busy interview week, and we'll have a very busy 2 weeks of rolling those interviews out. This is the part of the show where I'm going to tell you one more time, go ahead and spam those hearts. Spam those hearts. Let people on Facebook and Twitter believe that there is good content worth watching here. If you're not feeling very spammy, you can go ahead and give us a like. We'll accept that too. If you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch and you go, I can't spam hearts over and over again, you can go ahead and just put a big long line of hearts, or on Twitch, you can use our emotes if you are a subscriber, including Yoda. Yoda departed us on February 28th. He is forever in our hearts, our official mascot of Malcontent News. He was a fixture on the show. You'd have to go back and look at some of the older episodes. But more than once, he was spending time as he got into his final days under my arm, because that's where he wanted to be. And with that, we're going to go to our final story. We're ending on like really good news tonight. And you know, Jennifer, in the big scheme of things, this was not a heavy show tonight.
No, it was not. Which was actually kind of nice that I didn't feel like totally depressed and like, overwhelmed and the world was going to end. Like I need to go pull up in the fetal position sometimes after a show for like 20 minutes to get my head right. I don't feel that right now, which is really nice.
No, and we're going to end on a super high note tonight. I'm really excited for this story. Every year, the Kirkland Chamber of Commerce recognizes a Lake Washington District high school student for outstanding community service. The award is sponsored by Lee Johnson Auto Group. Lee Johnson, who passed away in 2002, but Lee Johnson did just massive amounts of things for the area community here, not just Kirkland, but on the east side, in support of youth, in support of disadvantaged youth. And he did it on the big time down low, which to me just makes it really cool. It wasn't done performatively. It was done from a place in his heart. So when Lee Johnson died in 2002 and his heirs were like, what could we do? They set up this scholarship fund and reward with the Chamber of Commerce. This year's winner is Angelia Lim. She's a senior at Juanita High School. She's BIPOC.
Yes.
And you know who else to tell her story but Angelia. Angelia, I apologize, and thank you for your patience on me getting your name wrong out of the gate. We're with Angelia Lim of Juanita High School. She has received the Lee Johnson Community Service Award from the Chamber of Commerce for 2020. Angelia, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you, David.
You've received this award for community service and for the great work that you've been doing in the local area, even though you're a high school senior getting ready to graduate with a lot on your plate. Could you tell us what you've been doing?
One activity that I'm really involved in is this organization that I co-founded with two of my friends. It's called Awareness for Homelessness. It's an organization that's dedicated to spreading awareness about the plight of those experiencing homelessness in this area and in the US, as well as providing direct aid to those experiencing homelessness and homeless shelters in our area. So we've done a lot of work with fundraisers. We've raised over $11,000, and we used that money to create over 1,000 sanitary kits that we donated to 11 different homeless shelters, including pet shelters and orphanages. So we've also had different drives. We had a clothing drive last year and one this year that our trainees for the next board also did, and we've raised over 1,500 clothing items, I would say.
Have you seen an increasing need for the unhomed community in 2020 due to COVID and the economic situation that's hitting our region?
Those experiencing homelessness are particularly vulnerable to the virus because they congregate together for safety, and they also lack access to affordable or just any access to healthcare and basic sanitation supplies, which is why one of our first reactions to the pandemic was to provide sanitary kits for the homeless community and homeless shelters around this area. And of course, because of the economic situation, a lot more people are unable to pay for their housing, which has increased the issue of homelessness.
It's our experience that a fair number of people, not everybody, but a fair number of people that live on the east side, Woodinville, Kirkland, Redmond, Bellevue, don't think that there are unhomed people that live in our communities, but that's not the reality, is it?
That is not the reality. Actually, in Seattle, we have the third largest homeless population in terms of cities in the United States. And that also extends to the east side. There are a lot of people experiencing homelessness in this area. We might not see it all the time. There are many different definitions of homelessness. It does not just mean that you're living on the streets. And a lot of people do experience those other versions. So unfortunately, we do have a huge homeless population, a huge issue that we need to address.
You graduate high school next month, and then where do you go in the fall?
So I recently committed to the University of Washington and its interdisciplinary honors program.
Angelia, thank you so much for coming on to the show and telling us about what you've done. It is also my understanding that as part of receiving this award, that you've got a scholarship to help you at the UW from Lee Johnson.
Yes, that was the case. And there was also $1,000 that was donated to the Lake Washington Schools Foundation.
They're a tremendous organization. They do a lot of work, including providing meals for people that are experiencing food insecurity, that aligns with your passion of addressing the unhomed community that lives on the east side.
Thank you, David.
I love Gen Z.
Yes, what a lovely little human. Like, seriously, what a lovely little human. And did I hear correctly that she is going to UW?
Yes, she is going to UW. You are correct.
Go Huskies. Once you become a Husky, you like just immediately develop this internal hatred for WSU. I'm really sorry. Like, but you guys suck. I'm just going to leave that. To run,
Well, I
like,
don't nearly have the time to unpack this.
When the Apple Cup would happen here and we would always beat them, I used to like to run in front of the stadium and look up like at all the crumpled WSU stuff. And then I would stop and take pictures of it to like commemorate the fact that, you know, we have like held the Apple Cup, you know, for the majority of the time. So yeah, Cougsac, go Huskies, all that good stuff.
Lee Johnson does have a statement, which is in 2003, and I kind of prefaced a lot of this, but I'm going to go ahead and read the statement. In 2003, the Kirkland Chamber decided to create an award in honor of Lee Johnson, who passed away in 2002. Lee's family decided an award focusing on youth and their extracurricular activities and community involvement would be the kind of award that Lee would want to see. So the Lee Johnson Student Community Service Award was created. In the interest of full disclosure, no, we're not getting any compensation or anything, but Lee Johnson does service our vehicles. Just, I believe in transparency. So, and they service the whole motor pool. So, nothing from Lee. We've actually never bought anything from them, but they do all the service. So, as noted by Angel Leah, $1,000 going to the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. Angel Leah's organization is not a 501c3, but we are going to let you know how to reach out to her org if you want to support what I would call mutual aid. I mean, essentially what they've set up is a mutual aid group. Back to Lake Washington School Foundation, they have a program called Pantry Packs. I was very fortunate in being able to do a video about their Pantry Pack efforts. And those are set up to help with food insecurity for students who are so food insecure that not only do they depend on a school breakfast and a school lunch, but there is no food at their home. And I know people think Lake Washington School District and go, that can't possibly be true. You would be shocked at how many people they were serving. And that was even before COVID. People don't think there's a lot of unhomed people, but I can tell you, there's a lot of people, Kirkland, Bellevue, Woodinville, Bothell, Redmond, they're living in their cars. You don't see it. It's just under the surface, but they're sleeping in their cars at night or they're couch surfing. And that's part of what Angel Leah was talking about. If you want to learn more about our organization, you can go to awarenessforhomelessness.weebly, weebly.com. awarenessforhomelessness.weebly.com. We are going to have a story on the website. We'll have a link to when we have the story up on the website. Tuesday is going to be a crazy news cycle. That story might not be up until Wednesday.
Well, what a great story. And again, Angelia, if you're watching, you're a wonderful human. Congrats on getting into the best school in Washington. And when you're on campus, come find me. I work in Smith Hall.
Jennifer, we're ending on such a high note.
Yes. Yes, we are.
And we're at 1 hour, 1 minute.
Yeah.
I know. I haven't screwed up the mute buttons yet. It's nothing but wind.
I'm this close to getting back into my sweatpants. This close.
Okay. Tomorrow, we will be covering Franklin Graham protests. We will be at the Hyatt. And when I say cover, right now the plan is to cover this as a news story. So in other words, camera, snap, write things down, write a news story, maybe shoot some video clips to have on the Wednesday show. If things go, we will switch to live. Jennifer, it's really weird. I've had tons of people like, are you streaming tomorrow? Are you going to be streaming? Like I've had people I haven't talked to in months crawling out of the woodwork asking if I'm going to this, which has me thinking this is going to be pretty big because there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of chatter around this one.
Yeah. So aren't you doing something Thursday, David?
Well, you can tell them, Jennifer. I'm bashful.
Yes. So on Thursday, David is going to be on Converge Media with Omari on Thursday morning, I believe. Is that correct? Am I right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So Thursday morning, Converge, David and Omari. Check it out.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the racist incident that happened in Kirkland at Javelicious. And we'll be on the show talking about that for a little bit. Jennifer, interviews that we have coming up, mayoral candidates, Jeslyn Farrell, Rodney Holt, Bruce Harrell, all this week. We're interviewing them this week. They will air, I hope, next week. Yeah. State Representative and Speaker of the House, Lori Jenkins, we're interviewing on the 13th. That's going to be Renee doing that interview. And City Council candidate Brianna Thomas is also coming up on the show. And Renee is also doing that interview. We have a really busy editorial week.
Yes, we do have a busy week. So, yeah, I'm very excited, though, that we have all these interviews and, everybody's getting involved and we're all doing cool teamwork shit. Go team.
Jennifer, another thing I want to thank our viewers for, and we'll close out the show on this positive note. Back in April, as you know, and as our editorial team knows, we had our 5 best days in a row on our website going all the way back to February. When we were last I looked was about at 6:30 tonight. We are on the brink of having our 5 best days since that best days like 10 days ago. So that's because of all of you.
Thank you, guys.
And just thank you for putting your trust in us and starting to turn to us as a news source for news that matters. Venmo and Patreon helps keep those lights on. I'm just going to put that little there on the end, little cherry on the top.
Yes.
All right, Jennifer, hopefully y'all won't be bailing me out tomorrow night or visiting me in the emergency room.
Can I please have a quiet night tomorrow, David? Please.
I can't. I can only report what's going to happen. I have no control over it. All right.
All right.
If you don't see me on a live, it's a quiet night. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Jennifer and Malcontent.
Good night.
Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents, Antifa, fuck you. You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.